A very good afternoon to all the participants for the webinar on the new Indian National Education Policy 2020, NEP 2020. First of all, I congratulate all the participants for participating in this webinar. And this webinar is organized only for the Usharama College of Engineering and Technology staff members. As a unit, we are going to understand the national education policy that is launched by the Government of India. Before I start my presentation, let me express my sincere thanks to our Honorable Chairman, Sri Shankara Ramabrahman Garu, and Dr. K. Rajashekar Rao Garu, and our beloved Principal, Dr. G.V. KSV Prasad Garu, and all the members of management of Usharama College of Engineering and Technology for giving me this great historical opportunity to express about NEP 2020. I am Dr. C.H. Shantirani, Dean Academics, and also the Professor of Electronics and Communication Engineering. And I have 27 years of teaching experience, and my main research areas include smart antennas for wireless communication, cellular and mobile communication, wireless sensor networks, low power VLSI. And so far, I have guided 3 candidates, and 3 of them have received a PhD from Acharya Nagarjuna University, and a few more research scholars are working with my guidance. And I have published around 67 papers in peer-reviewed, science citation indexed, and Scopus indexed international journals and conferences. And I am also the reviewer of some of the journals, and mainly it is a science citation indexed journal, that is the Journal of Engineering Research. So with this brief introduction about myself, let me move forward to express some of the ideas and some of the views regarding this National Education Policy 2020. The Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India, has launched this National Education Policy 2020 recently. And as you all know, this is the committee constituted by some of the members. The drafting committee was chaired by Dr. Kasturi Rangan, the former ISRO chief and Padma Vibhushan awardee. So, with my due respects to the drafting committee of NEP 2020, I am going to put forward some of the points in front of you. The main driving force behind the introduction of this NEP 2020 is the Indian tradition, culture, and heritage. The India, our mother country, is known for its rich heritage and culture. With this driving force, keeping the tradition of India, culture, and all these in view, the drafting committee has released a document which is having 66 pages. And that 66 pages document is divided into 4 parts. Mainly it has part 1 as engineering education, and the second one higher education, then third part other key areas of focus, and fourth part making it happen. The document was divided into these 4 main parts, and as higher education institution, we are going to focus more on the aspects that are suitable to higher education. Now, let me give you some brief introduction to this NEP. According to this NEP, or in general, what is an education? How it is helpful for the development of a nation or a country. Education is fundamental for achieving full human potential, developing an equitable and just society, and promoting national development. So, we know that our country is a developing country. To make our country a developed country, this committee, of course, this committee is constituted by MHRD. Before that, the foundation for this was started from the year 2015. It has a lot of history. Now, all that I'm not going to express, some points which we have to be aware of this national education policy only I'm going to present before you. And education must move towards less content, because if we observe many of the developed countries, their education is more towards the practical and critical thinking than content. Therefore, in our education policy, NEP, we are going to move towards less content and more towards learning about how to think critically. Thinking critically and solving problems will be given highest priority. How to be creative and how to study these multidisciplinary subjects, right? So these are the main aims for this new challenging education. Okay, this is actually, this NEP is really a challenging one, not only for an individual as the citizens of our country, but for whole nation, I can say. When there are some changes suggested by this NEP, there should be some changes in pedagogy also, because the pedagogy must evolve to make education more experiential, and it should be more holistic, and it should be integrated, inquiry driven, discovery oriented, and it should be learner centered, and it should be discussion based, and the pedagogy or the instruction delivery should be flexible, and of course it should be enjoyable to the learner. So such changes, according to NEP, these changes are going to take place in the pedagogy also. The aim for this NEP is India to have an education system by 2040 that is second to none. We are not second to anyone. Let us be the first in the world. This is the main aim of this NEP 2020. And by giving equitable access to the highest quality education for all the learners, regardless of their socio-economic background. Till now, some higher education means whoever has more money, they are able to study and go for higher education. So economic background has become the barrier till now, and in future all these barriers are going to be vanished. The NEP 2020 is the first education policy of 21st century. This NEP 2020 aims to address the many growing developmental imperatives of our country. The guiding light behind this policy is the rich heritage of ancient Indian knowledge. We know the ancient India has lot of traditions, culture, and so many languages. If you see our country, there are more than 6,000 languages in the same country. If you take some countries, there may be one or two or very less number of languages in other countries. But in our country, it is a unity in diversity. And our country supports almost so many religions, so many languages, and in each language, different dialects. So the guiding light for this policy is the rich heritage of ancient Indian knowledge. According to NEP, and not only according to NEP, in general, what is a good educational institution? A good educational institution is one in which every student feels welcomed and they are cared for, where a safe and stimulating learning environment exists. A good educational institution is the one where a wide range of learning experiences are offered, where good physical infrastructure is available to all the students. So in future, we are going to have many more good educational institutions. I don't say that at present we don't have good educational institutions. We have already, but in future we are going to have so many good educational institutions with many facilities. And if we observe this NEP, there is going to be complete renovation, revamping of the curriculum, the pedagogy, the institutional structure, everything. Let us see the principles of this policy. According to this NEP, there are some basic principles, and the first one is recognizing and identifying the unique capabilities of each student. Even at present, we are able to identify the capabilities of students, but here, according to the capabilities of the students, they are going to shine in their respective field of intelligence, and flexibility to choose their learning trajectories and programs according to their talents and interests. Sometimes, recently we are attending one AICTE ESIP, Student Induction Program, one of the resource persons who studied in a highly, what we say, a premier institution like IITs, after getting job in Tata Motors, he resigned that job and his interest was only on his talent like singing, otherwise music. So he resigned that job and he has shifted to the music field. Of course, he says he has just established the roadmap and he is planning to move towards that path. So now, according to our previous educational system, of course, in the next slides, I'm going to discuss about what are the present problems that our country is facing, right? So let me move a little bit faster. So flexibility to choose their learning trajectories and programs according to their talents and interests. So more flexibility students are going to have. That is the main principle behind NEP 2020. And we are going to recognize and identify the capabilities of each student. Then no hard separations between arts and science. Now we know we have degree colleges and we have engineering colleges and we have science degrees and we have arts degrees. Now in future, according to this NEP, the basic principle of this NEP is no hard separations between arts and sciences, between curricular and extracurricular extracurricular, between vocational and academic streams. So all are same, no separation, no hard separation between all these streams. Because, for example, if we take a BTech civil engineering student, if he wants to become a dancer, till now we say those come under extracurricular activities. Now they will not be termed as extracurricular in future according to NEP. So there are no hard separations. Any student, this is mainly the holistic development of the student. The main principle of this NEP policy, NEP is the holistic development of the student, holistic education. No hard separations between arts and science students. Engineering students can also learn some arts subjects and engineering students can also learn some science subjects, some music, drama, dance, everything. And there is no hard separation between vocational and academic streams. All these gaps are disappearing in this NEP 2020. And multidisciplinary and holistic education, just now I have mentioned, holistic education is the highest priority and highest priority is given to holistic education in this NEP. And mainly multidisciplinary and holistic education is the highest priority for this NEP 2020. And multidisciplinary and holistic education across the sciences, social sciences, arts, humanities, and sports, etc. Okay, so that means integrating all these, a student will be able to learn all these. That means not all, whatever direction they want, they can go. So multidisciplinary study, multidisciplinary degrees people are going to get. Then more emphasis on conceptual understanding rather than regular or routine learning, and otherwise rather than learning for exams. The present education system is more oriented towards exams. Now, in NEP, emphasis is on conceptual understanding rather than rote learning or learning for exams only. And if we see another policy, creativity and critical thinking to encourage logical decision making and innovation. So that's why our AICTE, it has launched Innovation Cell, and they are encouraging many students to come up with their own ideas, with their own innovative ideas. So creativity and critical thinking is another main important focus or important principle of this NEP. Then ethics and human and constitutional values like empathy, respect for others, spirit of service, respect for public property, scientific temper, responsibility, equality, and justice. So we know many of us have attended Universal Human Values FDPs conducted by AICTE. So AICTE has taken so many initiatives towards the implementation of NEP 2020. So in that, we all have learned the values. Actually, earlier I too used to feel values should be demonstrated. But now we realized that values can be taught and they can be caught. So respect for others. Earlier we used to feel if I have respect towards my elders, my children will learn, my students will learn. Not only that, we can teach how to give respect to others, the spirit of service, all these values can be taught. So this is another basic principle of this NEP. And another most important principle of this NEP is multilingualism. Till now, all our curriculum is framed only in one language, English, in higher education especially. And school education, I mean Telugu in Andhra Pradesh, Telugu medium and English medium, and Hindi medium and English medium, like that, very few languages. Now, the main principle of this NEP is promoting multilingualism. So, the power of language in teaching and learning is going to play a very important role. You know, we have introduced the English language and English language lab, and there we are teaching them how to learn the language, how to impress others in English when they work in multinational companies, how they have to communicate with their higher officials. All this we are teaching them in English, and students are feeling little bit difficult. Okay, why? Because we, according to this NEP, we are going to eliminate the socio-economic barriers. So everybody, every nook and corner of our country should be able to go for higher educations. And they have to study various multidisciplinary subjects and they have to get various degrees. So therefore, the main principle of this NEP is promoting multilingualism. So only in mother tongue. Morning we were discussing actually, right? Many inventions are done by some Americans or some foreign country people. Why? They are learning in their mother tongue and they are inventing in their own mother tongue. So if we use our mother tongue for teaching and learning process, our students also will be able to bring out something from their minds, some creative thinking they may have, and they come forward with innovative ideas. So the main policy of this is, another important policy of NEP is promoting multilingualism. Then life skills such as communication, cooperation, teamwork, all these is another important, that means teaching all these is another important policy of this NEP, right? And if we observe, as teachers we know, we are doing this summative assessment. Summative assessment. Mid 1, mid 2, assignment 1, assignment 2. This much is the portion you have to study. That's all, right? So this is summative assessment of the student. But NEP is going to focus on regular formative assessment. Formative assessment. For their formation, they have to form something. They have to be creative. Accordingly, their performance will be assessed. So more focus will be on regular formative assessment for learning rather than the summative assessment. And few more important principles are there. Extensive use of technology in teaching and learning. You know, before this pandemic, we are not that much aware of all these online teaching modes. The same seminar we should have conducted in our seminar halls. But now, due to this pandemic, there are revolutionary changes using these online resources. So otherwise we say technology. So extensive use of technology in teaching and learning is another main principle, and removing language barriers and increasing access for even Divyang students. Some of the handicapped Divyang students, they are not able to reach certain places. So therefore, if it is made more technology oriented, then it will be it will be easy for everyone to access. Recently, we have attended so many. I have attended one international leadership summit conducted by IEEE for women. For that, women leaders from various countries have participated. Actually, it was conducted in Bangalore last year, and everyone have to travel to that place and we have to gather and attend. But now, if we use this technology, it is not necessary to move from one place to other place. So access will be easier. So extensive use of technology in teaching and learning, removing language barriers, increasing access for Divyang students is another important principle. And if you come to the 12th principle, there are 14. Light but tight regulatory framework. So according to our present education system, we have a heavy load on students. Content, curriculum and content is very heavy for the students. Now, NEP is going to make it light but tight regulatory framework. Then, outstanding research as co-requisite. You try to understand this. Outstanding research as co-requisite for outstanding education and development. So along with the education, outstanding research is also required. So that is another principle of this NEP. And we know the teachers are the faculty at the heart of any learning process. Therefore, this policy takes it very serious in the recruitment of teachers. It is going to put so many parameters and standards and continuous professional development and positive working environments and service conditions. So on all these factors, the NEP is going to concentrate. This is another principle, that is, as the teachers are heart of any learning process, teachers and faculty, because they are the heart of any learning process, their recruitment, their professional development, all these, their service conditions, all these they are going to bring about so many new rules. So with that much information about the main principles of NEP, let us see what is the main vision of this policy. What is the main vision of this policy? This policy, the main vision of this policy is to instill among the learners a deep-rooted pride in being an Indian, So this is the main vision of this policy. And we can say why NEP 2020 has come into picture is to make the engineers who study in India to be acceptable globally. So we are going to produce globally accepted engineers or students. And with that brief, I don't know whether it is brief or prolonged, I think half an hour over. So with this much introduction, let me move forward to focus on higher education. So because ours being a higher educational institute, let us see some of the main points that are highlighted in NEP 2020. So we know for the development of any nation, the higher education contributes significantly. So the higher education plays an extremely important role in promoting human as well as societal well-being and in developing our country, India. So therefore, because it is going to be available to all the remote areas, many more young Indians are likely to aspire for higher education. That is the vision of this policy. So keeping that in mind, because as India moves towards becoming a knowledge economy, it is going to become a knowledge economy. It is going to become a knowledge economy in near future. So therefore, more and more young Indians, they are likely to aspire for higher education. And for the purpose of holistic development, it is essential that we have to teach skills and values. We have to teach skills and values for the holistic development of the learners, where these skills and values will be incorporated at each stage of learning, from preschool to higher education. We know we are not focusing. The NEP focuses on complete education, preschool education to higher education. You know, preschool education, it is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, and then higher education. Okay, so we are not going to focus on preschool education now. We are going to focus on higher education, right? Even in higher education, not only in higher education, the skills and values are going to be incorporated at each stage of learning, from preschool to higher education. Now, let us see some of the major problems that are currently faced by our Indian education system. If we see the first one, a severely fragmented higher educational ecosystem. So what is this? A severely fragmented higher education system. That means we say BTech, ECE, or engineering, arts, science, like that. There is a fragmentation. So severely fragmented higher educational ecosystem, it is the present problem, and less emphasis on development of cognitive skills or logical skills. that is another major problem that is faced by, we say sometimes in personality development classes also we say, if you are intelligent, it is not sufficient. You have to put more hard work, right? So if a person is intelligent, he may not be able to get good percentage. But if a person is hardworking, he will be able to get good percentage according to our present system. But according to NEP, the cognitive skills, there will be more emphasis on cognitive skills. At present, less emphasis is there on the development of cognitive skills of learners. Then a rigid separation of disciplines. Some students, they say, ma'am, actually I like mechanical engineering, but my parents asked me to join in ECE, or my parents asked me to join in CSC. Even such people can shift, not only shifting, can opt for those courses also, right? Where in new education policy, but now there is no chance. A rigid separation of there, a rigid separation of disciplines with early specialization and streaming of students into narrow areas of study, and limited access. That means this, if you see some village people, they travel larger distances to study in an engineering college or in a degree college, right? So limited access, particularly in socio-economically disadvantaged areas. There are some areas where access for higher education is very limited. So that is one another disadvantage. With few higher educational institutions that teach in local languages. Actually, higher educational institutions, I think to my knowledge, there are very less number of institutions who teach higher education in local language. To my knowledge, so far I have not come across, but there may be some institutions. And limited teacher and institutional autonomy. That is another major problem at present, and inadequate mechanism for merit-based career management and progression of faculty and institutional leaders. And less emphasis on research at most of the universities and colleges. We are doing research, but less emphasis on research at most universities and colleges, and suboptimal governance and leadership of higher educational institutions, and an ineffective regulatory system, and large affiliating universities. Some of the universities, they are affiliating more than 200 colleges. So they are not able to monitor the standards of the colleges that they are giving affiliation. So this results in low standards of undergraduate education. So like that, these are some of the problems, some of the major problems that are faced by our higher education system in our country, right? So this policy, it is going to change the current education system. So it is going to revamp, it is going to completely change the instruction delivery, the educational content, everything, right? So this is the main vision of this policy. This policy's vision includes the key changes to the current system. So if you are above 50, or if you are above 50, no problem. But the all young generation faculty members, you have to be competitive enough to acquire the skills and knowledge that is required for future generations according to NEP. Now, though our education system is going to change completely, there are so many challenges. We know we are not a rich country. I think few days back I saw India has become third poorest country. I do not know how far that news is true, but there are so many challenges that we are going to face because of this NEP. But we hope our government is going to handle and tackle all the challenges that we are going to face for this new education policy. Let us see some of the challenges. I cannot say some, almost many of the challenges that were quoted in the NEP document I have highlighted here. So I want each and every faculty member of our institute should know about all the challenges and all the policies and what are the problems currently that our educational system is facing, all that. Okay, let us see the challenges that our country is going to face or we are going to face because of this NEP 2020. The first challenge, let us see, moving towards a higher education system consisting of large multidisciplinary universities and colleges. Colleges with at least one in or near every district. Ours is a small continent, we say, right? Subcontinent. So very big India. So establishing such multidisciplinary universities and colleges, at least one in every district, is a great challenge that we are going to face. And with more higher educational institutions across India that offer medium of instruction or programs in local Indian languages. This is another very big challenge because in local language and in Indian language, teaching this higher education is a great challenge, but we are going to face that challenge. We will be able to chase that challenge. The second one, moving towards a more multidisciplinary undergraduate educational system. I mean undergraduate education. So undergraduate education so far, BA, that's all, or BCom, that's all, BSc, that's all, BTech. So now we are going to move towards more multidisciplinary undergraduate education system. And moving towards faculty and institutional autonomy. How far our country is going to give institutional autonomy and autonomy to individual faculty? It is another challenge. And revamping curriculum and pedagogy, assessment methods, and student support for enhanced student experiences. So revamping this curriculum, we being an autonomous institute, we know how to frame a new curriculum, right? So revamping this curriculum, and not only curriculum, the pedagogy, the assessment methods, and student support for learning all these experiences. These are going to be a big challenges. And reaffirming the integrity of faculty and giving leadership positions through merit appointments rather than service, etc. Okay, so that means giving merit appointments to the leadership positions based on their teaching, research, and service. These three aspects. Even now we are doing some API score. So that API score will be evaluated based on the teaching, research, and also service, which is nothing but the community service. Then another big challenge is the establishment of National Research Foundation. That is another challenge, and it is going to grant some funding to all other research universities. Okay, and governance of higher educational institutions by high qualified and independent boards having academic and administrative autonomy. So all these are the major challenges ahead of this policy, and how to make light but tight regulation, right? Light but tight regulation by a single regulator for higher education. That is single regulator, we can imagine single regulator. Actually, till now we have so many autonomous colleges in our state itself, and they are framing their own curriculum, and each autonomous institute is different and each university is different. Now it is going to be a light but a tight regulation by a single regulatory authority, and increased access to all underprivileged students. And by we have to provide, the government has to provide scholarships even for both private and also public higher educational institutions. So another major important challenge is online education and open distance learning, and all infrastructure and learning materials accessible and available to learners with disabilities. So we are going to provide all the material. So how to reach all these? So these are some of the challenges that our country is going to face. I hope you have followed what are the policies of this NEP and what are the present problems that our higher education system is facing, and then what are the challenges that we are going to face. So with that minimum knowledge, let us see few more things, that is institutional restructuring and consolidation. So in future, we are going to have different types of institutions. So the main thrust of this policy regarding higher education is to end the fragmentation of higher education by transforming higher educational institutions into large multidisciplinary universities, and into large multidisciplinary universities and colleges. Otherwise, we say higher educational institutional clusters, knowledge hubs, etc., each with minimum are more than 3,000 students. That is the main aim of this policy, right? So in future, the present, that means each street one college, each village one college, not like that. At present we have like that, but this fragmentation of higher education is going to end, and the NEP is going to establish higher educational institutions into large multidisciplinary universities and colleges and knowledge hubs. So each of these, they will have a strength of 3,000 or more students. Only such institutions will be going to survive. And if we see some more motives, right? Moving to large multidisciplinary universities, and thus we can see why it has taken, suggested such a decision or change is, if we observe the ancient Indian universities like Takshashila and Nalanda universities, they used to have thousands of students from India and from the other parts of the globe. And now the India has realized that urgently it needs to bring back this great Indian tradition to create well-rounded and innovative individuals, and which is already transforming other countries educationally and economically. Actually, other countries, they started following our tradition, and they started universities like our Takshashila and Nalanda, and they have transformed their countries, and they have become educationally strong and more economical. And by following us, they have become more and more economical, and we say higher with more economy, we can say. And now our India, it is feeling the urgent need to bring back this great Indian tradition for the well-rounded development of creative individuals. And in future, a university will mean a multidisciplinary institution, and it may be offering degrees for undergraduate, graduate, and for high quality teaching, research, everything. Okay, but let us see what is the status of autonomous college according to NEP. Autonomous degree granting colleges, they are also going to be a large multidisciplinary institutions of higher learning that grant undergraduate degrees, and they primarily focus on teaching. Okay, and they will be like smaller than a typical university. In future, we are going to have either a university which is a multidisciplinary organization, and autonomous colleges which are slightly smaller than a typical university. Only these type of institutions are going to stay according to NEP. Then a, a stage-wise mechanism for granting graded autonomy to colleges is another important factor. So colleges, when we say autonomous colleges, they also they vary from one institute to other institute according to the facilities and standards maintained by these. So they are going to give graded autonomy, right? And then higher educations will have autonomy and freedom to move gradually from one category to another category. That means according to the plans, according to their plans and actions and effectiveness. For example, if there are 3 grades, A, B, C grades, just as an example I'm mentioning. So if there are 3 grades, from one grade to other grade, we will be moving from one category to another category based on the plans, actions, and effectiveness. In addition to teaching and research, the higher educational institutions are going to have other crucial responsibilities they have to discharge in future. And by 2040, now that means coming 20 more years, right? By 2040, all higher educational institutions shall aim to become multidisciplinary institutions, and they shall aim to have larger student enrollments, preferably in thousands. That is the vision of our NEP, right? So by 2020, all higher educational institutions should aim to become multidisciplinary institutions, right? So now we are at 2020. By 2040, all the institutions are going to become multidisciplinary. So this process will take some time. Therefore, all the higher educational institutions will firstly plan to become multidisciplinary by 2030 and then gradually increase student strength to the desired level, that is in the order of thousands, preferably in the order of thousands. So now even our institute, of course, according to the affiliating university, we are going to become a multidisciplinary institution. Then the overall higher educational sector will aim to be an integrated higher education system, including professional and vocational education. So far, we have some vocational education differently. I'll show you the last slide, how much preference is given to vocational education in other countries and how much percentage of our students are gaining vocational degrees, we will see, certificates, we will see. So, and what is the present state of our country, all that we are going to see, right? So, this policy and its approach will be equally applicable to all the higher educational institutions across all current streams, which would eventually merge into one coherent ecosystem of higher education. So this policy is applicable to all the higher educational systems across all current streams. We cannot say only for engineering or only for sciences, only for arts. No, it is applicable to all higher educational institutions of all streams. Then so far we have the term we see deemed to be university or affiliating university or affiliating technical university, otherwise unitary university, all these terms, right? This is the complex, the present complex nomenclature of these higher educational institutions in the country. They are going to be replaced simply by the term university on fulfilling the criteria as per the norms. If it fulfills all the criteria that is required as per the norms, then that institute will be named as university. Here onwards, we are not going to have deemed to be university or affiliating university or affiliating technical university. All these words, this nomenclature is going to vanish. A university worldwide means a multidisciplinary institution of higher learning that offers undergraduate, graduate, and PhD programs and engages in high quality teaching and research. That's all. University, that is the worldwide meaning. So same meaning we are going to bring back, and we are not going to have this nomenclature in future. So I think I'm going very slowly because it is a new thing for us. We have to be a little bit attentive. So that too, this is the afternoon. You might be feeling restless and tired. So you please pardon me for taking this very slowly, right? And we are coming to the, and it may take 10 more minutes time, right? So let me move a little bit faster. A holistic multidisciplinary education would aim to develop all capabilities of human beings, maybe intellectual, aesthetic, social, physical, emotional, and moral. So all these are integrated and a holistic education comes into picture. So by inculcating all these, by teaching all these aspects, an institution will become a holistic and multidisciplinary educational institution. And here are some important points that we have to understand, right? I think I can go to the next slide better, right? So imaginative and flexible curricular structures will enable creative combinations of disciplines. So we are going to frame creative combinations of disciplines for study and would offer multiple entry and exit points, thus removing currently prevalent rigid boundaries and creating new possibilities for lifelong learning. So, what does it mean? Multiple entry and exit. If it is a 4-year course, 4-year BTech course, let us assume, right? A student enters into the institution and he has to study 4 years. But after studying 1 year, if he wants to go out of this institution for maybe for his livelihood or for some other reason, so we are going to encourage him. So this is called now after 1 year we can give some vocational course, vocational degree certificate, some certificate. After 2 years we can give a diploma certificate. After 3 years we can give our another certificate. After 4 years you can give another undergraduate certificate. So like that, student can enter into an institution at any point of time and he can leave the institution at any point of time and again he can enter, and like that we are going to create new possibilities for lifelong learning, right? So don't think that students are going to study BTech throughout their life, right? So we are giving some sort of possibility so that, for example, if some students financially wants to support their parents, after they have a plan to study a complete 4 years undergraduate course, but after 2 years suddenly some mishap took place in their family, then he has to support his family. So after 2 years he will receive a diploma degree certificate and he will be doing a job. So after some time when he establishes himself and when he becomes financially good, then he will come back and study all other courses. So like that, the imaginative and flexible curricular structures will enable creative combinations of disciplines for study and would offer multiple entry and multiple exit points. So at present we don't have that. If someone wants to discontinue their studies, okay, discontinue, over, right? So those 2 years will be a waste of time for the student. But now according to NEP, for these 2 years of degree, 2 years of study, the institute is going to give a suitable certificate. Towards the attainment of such holistic and multidisciplinary education, the flexible and innovative curricula of all higher educational institutions shall include credit-based courses and projects, right? So we have to add, even if it is project course, of course we are familiar with the credit based courses, okay? And value based education is also going to take place here. So value based education means satya, dharma, shanti, prem, ahimsa, like that. Scientific temper, citizenship values, all these we are going to teach as part of holistic education. So with the multiple exit options for a period, just I have mentioned, either 3 or 4 years duration if a undergraduate joins. Example, for example, we'll give, if they want to leave the institution after certain point, we give them an appropriate certificate. Okay, for example, a certificate after completing 1 year in a discipline or field, including vocational and professional areas, or a diploma after 2 years of study, or a bachelor's degree after 3 years program, and the 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor's degree, like that we are going to give. So for that, what the institution has to do, academic bank of credits shall be established which would digitally store the academic credits earned from various recognized higher educational institutions, so that the degree from an higher educational institute can be awarded taking into account credits earned. For example, if I join in one educational institution, I will be studying here, but at the same time, through online, I will be doing my courses and I will be getting my credits. Those credits will be considered in my parent institute and you are going to give a degree. So like that, academic credit bank we are going to maintain. So like that, 2 years program, then 4 years bachelor degree program, 5 years, all these we are going to have some sort of flexibility. Then the government is going to establish model public universities. And of course, they will be on par with IITs, IIMs, and like that. Okay, so it is going to establish, they will be set up, and that is the aim of our what is that country, right? Our educational system, and then uh, we have to provide optimal learning environments and support for students. So that means we have to provide good material, pedagogical instruction delivery, pedagogical methods we have to change, then assessment methodology, and like that many student adequate student support systems we are going to take. And then more internationalization. Okay, internationalization, various initiatives mentioned above will also help in having large number of international students studying in India, right? And not only that, they provide greater mobility to students in India who may wish to visit and study abroad. And the main criteria here is credit transfer. Transfer of credits is going to take place to carry out research. After 2 years of study, a student can go abroad and his credits will be transferred to that, and there he can complete his research like that, and vice versa. Student can join in India and study abroad. Student can join in abroad universities and they can come back to India and study. So like that. So more internationalization is going to take place. Then these are some steps to be taken by the governments. So our government is going to take all these steps. That is, few I will mention. Set clear targets for higher, what is that, gross enrollment ratio. So enrollment ratio should be high, we thought. And for who are these people means socio-economic disadvantaged group people, right? So like that, provide more financial assistance and scholarships to those people who are in public and private sectors, private higher educational institutions. Like that, develop and support technology tools for better participation and learning outcomes. So these are some of the steps to be taken by the governments, and these are the steps to be taken by higher educational institutions. Let me move a little bit faster. These are about the institutions only. So mitigate opportunity costs and fees for pursuing higher education. So this will be, this is going to happen. That means the higher education cost and fee will be reduced in future. Maybe government is going to fund some of the organizations, and they provide, our higher educational institutions should provide more financial assistance and scholarships to socio-economically disadvantaged students. And we have to conduct outreach on higher education opportunities and scholarships, and make admissions process more inclusive, curriculum more inclusive, increase employability potential of higher education programs, develop bridge courses for students that come from disadvantaged educational backgrounds. Actually, we are doing, some of the institutions, they are doing already some of these points. Okay, provide socio-economical and academic support, mentoring for all the students, and with suitable counseling and mentoring programs, and strictly enforcing all no discrimination and anti-harassment rules. Like that, those are some of the steps that are to be taken by higher educational institutions. Then teacher education. So I have mentioned already, teachers or the faculty are the heart of any teaching learning process. So teacher education plays a vital role in creating a pool of school teachers, and that will shape the next generation. Here, teachers and also the faculty that work in higher educational institutions. And teachers also must be grounded in Indian values and languages, knowledge, ethos, and traditions, including tribal traditions. So this is what it is aiming. And then, like that, we can say an instruction while also being well versed in the latest advances in education and pedagogy. So teachers will be able to become more what we say more well versed with all these values and including tribal traditions. Now we have come to almost the last slide, I can say. So reimagining the vocational education. If we see the countries, let me show USA, the people who have received vocational education is around 52% in number, and in Germany it is 75%, and in South Korea it is as high as 96%. Whereas, from according to our 12th five-year plan, less than 5% of Indian students have received formal vocational education. And therefore, these numbers, they show the urgency of the need to incorporate the spread of vocational education in India. So fast and very speedily, the India is going to incorporate this vocational education. I hope I am able to give you some insight into this new education policy. So now, according to the present situation, NEP 2020 and APSHE, Andhra Pradesh State Council for Higher Education, it has already taken initiatives to implement this NEP 2020 with immediate effect. Even AICTE also, it has started teaching these values through universal human values and through student induction program. And APSHE has released revised engineering curriculum for BTech regular and BTech honors and BTech minor degrees for the academic year 2020 in tune with NEP 2020, and advised all the universities and autonomous colleges in the state to implement from the academic year 2020 itself. So with these few points, and I want to quote one of the famous quotation of our people's president, APJ Kalam: umbrella cannot stop the rain, but can make us stand in rain. Similarly, confidence may not bring success, but give us power to face any challenge in life. So I hope the country is going to face many challenges because of this NEP, and even the teachers, complete teaching fraternity, is going to face many challenges. So let us all make this to happen with more and more confidence and respect to our Indian tradition and culture. So I thank you for your patient listening. My sincere thanks to all the listeners and participants. And once again, I thank our principal sir, director sir, and our management for giving me an opportunity to study about this NEP and present before you all the learned people. Thank you all. And if you have any doubts, comments, and questions, you are welcome to share in the chat box. Thank you.